The hallway smelled like disinfectant and panic. Sunlight streamed sharply through the tall hospital windows, painting long pale beams across the floor where a tall, broad-shouldered man in a wrinkled janitor uniform stood frozen. Arin Malick had cleaned blood, spilled coffee, broken glass, and the messes of life for years, but he had never frozen like this, never once, until he heard those words echo across the ward, "Please, just make it fast." The SEAL Admiral said. The man begging wasn't a stranger to strength. He was Admiral Royce Halden, legendary, decorated, feared. Yet here he stood at a hospital doorway on a bright, unforgiving afternoon, shoulders trembling, face drained of all command. And Arin knew in that instant that life had brought two broken men to the same battlefield. Before you continue, if you believe in kindness, humanity, and second chances, please like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps these heartfelt stories reach someone who may truly need them. Arin tightened his grip on the mop handle, his breath uneven as he watched nurses rush inside the emergency room. He hadn't meant to overhear. He was just doing his job, cleaning the floors, keeping his head down, staying invisible. It was safer that way. For a man raising a 7-year-old daughter alone, safety was everything. Yet something in the Admiral's voice felt too familiar. A quiet break, a heavy surrender, the sound of a father terrified of losing someone. Arin had heard that same sound 12 months ago when he held his wife's hand as she slipped away in another brightly lit room that smelled just like this one. When Admiral Halden stepped back from the doorway, his tall figure faltering, Arin could see clearly now. A young man lay unconscious on the hospital bed inside, tubes, wires, bruises, a son pulled from a wreck, a life hanging by a thread, and the Admiral, the Iron Man of Navy, looked like he would collapse from the weight of helplessness. Arin felt a pull deep inside, something he had long buried. He set his mop aside and slowly walked forward. Outside, the mid-day sun was harsh but beautiful, pouring through the windows like a reminder that some things still carried warmth. Arin shrugged off his faded work jacket and draped it over the nearby chair, revealing old scars along his forearm, scars Admiral Halden immediately recognized, not the source but the pattern, combat scars. But Arin spoke before the Admiral could. He spoke quietly, voice thick yet steady. He told him, "You're not alone. Fathers break too. Strength doesn't mean silence. Pain shared is pain eased." The Admiral stared at him as if trying to read the truth behind the words, and for the first time in years someone spoke to him not as a title, not as a decorated warrior, but simply as a father. Arin explained how he used to serve, not as a soldier, but as a rescue diver, how he had pulled people out of oceans swollen with storms, how he had fought to save strangers he would never meet again. He told him how life had changed when he lost his wife Mara to a sudden heart rupture, how he quit diving, took whatever job he could get, and wiped floors just to afford his daughter Neera's school supplies and keep lights on. He told the Admiral how guilt had lived inside him like a shadow, whispering that he should have saved the one woman he could not. And yet he was living. His daughter needed him to, and sometimes hope walked in when you least expected it. Admiral Halden's eyes softened, lines deepening with the unspoken truth that leaders rarely admit. They too fear, they too break. He confessed in halting words that he had not spoken to his son, Cade, in months. A stupid argument about Cade choosing firefighting instead of following in military footsteps. Pride had built walls between them. Now the walls were useless. Now the only thing he wanted was another chance. The nurses suddenly rushed out with grim urgency, and the Admiral's breath caught. The machines inside had begun their erratic warning cries. Cade's pulse was collapsing. Without thinking, Arin stepped in with the nurses. He had seen this rhythm before, too sudden, too sharp, like the final drop before a storm. In that blinding daylight, Arin felt the haunting replay of losing Mara. He couldn't let another man drown in that same helplessness. He steadied the Admiral's shoulder and said, "Your son needs to hear you. Go in, talk to him. Don't let silence be your last memory." The Admiral hesitated only a second before stepping into the room. His voice cracked as he spoke to his unconscious son, apologizing, pleading, begging, words men like him were never taught to say. Arin watched, breath tight, as if the entire world had narrowed to the sound of a father fighting for one more day with his child. Minutes stretched, air thickened, but Cade's pulse steadied, almost like he was answering his father's voice. Hours passed in sunlight and shadow as the crisis slowly subsided. When Cade was finally stable enough to rest, the Admiral walked out with tears streaking lines down his face. He didn't try to hide them. He shook Arin's hand with the kind of gratitude that lived deeper than language. He told him he had saved 2 lives today, Cade's and his own, and Arin, after so long carrying guilt and grief, felt the smallest flicker of something he had nearly forgotten, peace. As the sky brightened into late afternoon warmth, Arin walked outside the hospital where his daughter Nero waited on a bench, swinging her legs in the sunlight. When she looked up and saw her father's tired smile, she ran into his arms, holding him tight, and for the first moment in many months he held her without feeling the ache of what he'd lost, only the strength of what he still had. Near the end of the day, Admiral Haldon approached them outside. He knelt down to Neera's height and thanked her father in a voice that tremblingly honored the man who had shown him how to fight the right battle, the battle for love, forgiveness, and family. Then he stood and saluted Arin, not as a janitor, not as a former diver, but as a man who carried courage in silence and kindness in scars. If this story touched your heart, please like the video, comment your thoughts, share it with someone who needs hope today, and subscribe to Kindness Corner so more people can experience stories that heal and inspire. Before we end, please take a moment to comment one kind wish for someone you love. Your words might change a heart today.